Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles. And Friday is Tank Day in more than one way. I've actually pushed this video out well in advance and pre-uploaded it for Friday because on Friday I will be at the Tank Museum at Bovington. I'm actually heading down for Saturday to attend Tiger Day, but I'm spending the day there on Friday in order to get access to the Vehicle Conservation Centre and the main displays on the museum floor when it's not quite as crowded as it's likely to be on Tiger Day. Speaking of which, that means it's Tiger Day at the Tank Museum tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to meeting as many of you there as possible. If you do happen to find yourself at the Tank Museum tomorrow, you'll be able to find me at the Sherman Room, where I'll be doing a meet and greet between 9 AM and 11 AM. But for now, it's time for World of Tanks. This is Matanza in the premium Tier 8 German tank destroyer, the Scorpion G. And in case you're wondering, yes, he is AFK at the beginning of this battle. He did explain why he was AFK in the email that accompanied this replay, but I can't actually remember what it was and I don't have the email anymore. But he did have a reason. So while we're waiting for him to come back to the keyboard, as the rest of his team do all the hard lifting in the beginning of this match, let's talk a little about the Rheinmetall Scorpion G. Premium Tier 8 German tank destroyer. He's in a Tier 9 battle here on Lakeville. But the tier of the battle that you get into in the Scorpion G... Oh, he's back. Hooray. Okay, well that didn't actually take too long. But the tier of battle that you get into in this machine, it doesn't really matter, because the gun is good enough to face almost all of the opposition that you're ever likely to face. The mobility is pretty good, and the armour on this machine is mostly an irrelevance. It's got terrible armour. It doesn't really matter who's shooting at you in the Scorpion G. If they hit you, they're probably going to penetrate, regardless of the tier of tank and the type of ammunition that they're firing. High explosive in particular goes through this thing like a hot knife through butter. Which is why I find it kind of amusing when somebody is shooting at a Scorpion G, and when you have a look at the shots received indicator at the bottom of the screen next to the paper doll, you find out that people have been wasting gold ammo on it. It's strangely satisfying for some reason. But I do find it funny every time somebody basically expends 10% of their... Ooh, wow, nice shot. But yeah, I do find it amusing every time somebody expends 10% of their post-game credits with every premium ammunition shot that they fire into this machine when they could have been doing far more damage, far more economically, just by loading cheap, high explosive ammunition. But this really is a fantastic gun on this machine. 246mm of penetration, 490 average damage. The rate of fire is a little on the slow side, but the accuracy is fantastic. 0.3 dispersion at 100 meters, and only a 2.1 second aiming time. I do have to confess the beginning of this game is a little on the slow side. He's pretty much going to be doing the tank destroyer thing and camping in this spot, just taking advantage of targets that blunder into his line of fire. Is the IS-3 going to do it? Yeah, probably not. Pay attention to what's going on in the valley, by the way. Remember, this is encounter. So the action that matters, is happening right down there. But there are still plenty of tanks fighting it out in the valley. There always are. And we're going to be seeing more of those later. And he finally got the IS-3. Excellent. So there's kill number 2. Scores are fairly even so far. The enemy team does have a slight advantage. They're at 1 kill. They have more tanks in the cap circle, however. Like that T... Oh, you lucky... I don't know what possessed the T-20 to stop at that precise moment, but he's bloody lucky he did. Did he fully retreat into cover around the side of the church? I think... Oh, hang on a second. Leopard prototype. Yep, we'll take that shot. And critical damage as well. Which probably means he's ammo-racked him, because it's a Leopard prototype and it's made out of ammo-racks, and you're really going to do that? Oh, wow. 0.3 accuracy? Missed. Although we wasn't giving him an awful lot to shoot at, but then he does it again. And while we can't see him anymore, I'm reasonably sure he's still in the same spot. And sure enough, he was there. Oh, and there's the T-20. Now that is a very, very dodgy target. 0.3 accuracy or no, he's going to really struggle to actually land one on the T-20. And, yeah, strikes the side of the church. Matanza's team do have tanks in the cap circle. They've arrested the capture process. And he's not going to get a shot at that guy, but he should be able to get another shot at the T-20. Probably not enough to kill him, but it's done severe damage, and it's blown his tracks off, and somebody else is almost certainly going to finish him off, yep, before Matanza can reload. So, the scores are now even, 6 kills per team, and Matanza's team now have tanks in the cap circle, although they are under fire. However, whereas the enemy team's casualties up until now have all mostly occurred over there by the cap circle, Matanza's team's casualties have mostly occurred in the valley on the other side of the mountain from Matanza's position right now. Take a quick look at the map. 3 enemy tanks, Tiger 1, Lerva and a Churi, and that IS-3 up by the cap circle. Well, he's never even managed to connect to the game in the first place. He's permanently disconnected. Disconnected or not, however, his tank can still spot enemy tanks coming around the corner of the valley from the south, and in fact he's already spotted the Churi. Matanza stops to put a shot in the T-25-2 and then hangs around for possibly a little bit too long, trying to get the follow-up shot and potentially the kill. Meanwhile, T-95 and T-54 Lightweight are reacting to the threat. Now remember these two teammates, because Matanza said quite clearly in the email that accompanied this replay that if it wasn't for these two guys, the game would have been lost. And I think that's a pretty fair assessment. Now, I have very little doubt that any of the 3 enemy tanks coming around this corner, after farming damage on the disconnected IS-3, every one of these guys is going to shit their pants when they see a T-95 coming around the corner in the opposite direction. However, they could have overwhelmed the T-95 if not for the presence of Matanza and the Scorpion G and the T-54 Lightweight, who were discouraging these guys from rushing in, and instead they're in fact desperately trying to fall back across swampy ground. And no, that's just not going to happen. The Tiger's the last one alive, he's been tracked, bang, dead. But despite the fact that potential disaster has just been averted over here in the valley, things have been going from reasonably good to absolutely terrible over by the cap circle in the town, where the enemy team have crushed all opposition and are once again in the process of capping. I don't know if you just caught it there, but the AMX 1375, the only other surviving tank on the team, just went for a cliff dive suicide rather than fight the GDDR3 down there. So, yeah, this isn't particularly good. The enemy team are capping. The Scorpion G's mobility isn't bad. The T-95's mobility is disastrous. This is all going to come down to that T-54 Lightweight rushing back to the cap circle, and if not resetting the cap, then at least spotting targets for Matanza and the T-95 to obliterate from over here. So the question you have to ask yourself here is, do the enemy team want to win by capping, or are they going to risk exposing themselves and having the cap reset by queuing up to take shots at Matanza? Hands up anybody who was surprised to see that they're all going to risk exposing themselves to return fire and having their cap points reset by queuing up to take shots at Matanza. Anyone? No, I didn't think so. Well, he took a fair bit of damage there and he had his engine knocked out. He's had to use his repair kit, which is on cooldown, but all systems are back up and running, and they're continuing to pelt this rock over here with shots. Which in a way is good, because it means they're all focusing on him, and they're giving the T-95 time to link up with the T-54 Lightweight, who's delayed his spotting run until the T-95 reached him, and now he's going for it. And while he's going for it and lighting up all kinds of enemy tanks, and how that wasn't a kill I have no idea, but while he's lighting up all kinds of enemy tanks, ask yourself one question: where's this guy? Yeah, you in the tier 8 Swedish tank destroyer. Why aren't you ruffle stomping all over Matanza and preventing him from doing things like this? It's not like you couldn't have gotten here by now. And yet, no sign of him. No idea where he is. No idea what he's doing. Meanwhile, the T-95 has almost made it into the cap circle, and the T-54 Lightweight is about to do another drive-by from the other direction, but this RU-251 could cause him problems unless Matanza can help, like that, which means that the RU-251 is a one-shot kill for the T-54 Lightweight. Sadly, the T-95 has now been taken down, but we can take a look at the spot where the T-95 died and look at who killed him and get some kind of idea of where the GDDR3 might be, and possibly explain why Matanza has been left alive in this position as long as he has, ruffle stomping all over enemy targets down there in the cap circle. Minimap time again. Pay attention to the last spotted location of the UDES-03. And pay attention to the T95 as he makes his progress south. In particular, watch what happens when he crosses this intersection, because this is exactly where he's going to die. You ready? He's turning himself around. UDES-03 is aiming. And bang, dead. There it is. That right there is what you just saw happen. That was the shot that he took, which means that for the last more than 2 minutes he's been sitting in the exact same position, waiting to take one shot at a target crossing that intersection. And while he's been doing that, Matanza has been sitting in a spot, spotted 100 meters to his north, doing an additional 1,500 damage and killing 2 of his teammates. I can't help but feel that there may have been a more productive use of that UDES-03's time. Instead of, sitting in one spot for 2 minutes while your team collapses around you so you can take one shot. Oh, here he comes. He's going to need to one-shot Matanza, and if he'd been firing high explosive, he could have. But he isn't, so he doesn't. And Matanza reloads, finishes him off. The T-25-2, hoping to get the kill, pokes out. The T-54 lightweight was waiting for exactly that moment, cruises past, finishes him off in a drive-by. And so that's a fairly convincing win for Matanza in the Rheinmetall Scorpion G, which he freely admits wouldn't have been even remotely possible if not for the sterling support of his 2 excellent teammates, just like Tiger Woods in the T-54 lightweight and Reptile in the T-95. And just to prove what an all-round good egg and snappy dresser he is, he even included the messages that he exchanged with them after the battle. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.